Our first presenter is the Director of Government Sales and Programs with IT1. We're going to go ahead and have Ian Dunnington start us off.
Great. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And thank you everyone for joining our webinar with Nucleos for Reentry-as-a-Service. Just to set the stage, IT1 has been in the IT solutions business for over 20 years. And as part of what we do, it's really solutions aggregation. And we have been searching the environment for best of breed solutions to bring to bear to our customer base. And our focus has been on corrections, public safety, and public sector, and leveraging that expertise to bring best of breed products and solutions that expand your reach to your subjects that you're actually having to solve for. The projects that you have underway, the projects that you'd like to get started. And as a result of that, we've moved into actually finding Nucleos a couple of years ago. And I'd like to thank Noah, who's the CEO and founder, and Caleb, who is one of their key presenters and subject matter experts on Reentry-as-a-Service platform. Together with Nucleos, IT1 is able to find best in breed content if you do not have content that you want to utilize within the platform, or to augment content that you have. It's to provide a secure software platform for your enterprise to be able to deliver this content to your audience, to source and provide and implement the best hardware that's available, state-of-the-art hardware, as well as very reliable, robust hardware, all wrapped around IT services and solutions that support the whole infrastructure as much or as little as you guys need to implement and execute this seamless solution.
So hello, everyone. My name is Caleb. I'm the Director of Business Development with Nucleos. Thank you so much, Ian, for giving us that introduction. Great. Okay. So with this slide, as you can see, this is basically a slide from 10,000 feet to where you can see Nucleos being at the center and what we offer. So everything from academic to vocational to social and emotional wellness tools are things that we provide for our users. And so phone messaging, video calls, commissary ordering, local law library, grievance forms, attorney communication, and then entertainment, of course. And so at the bottom, I can get into more of the weeds of this during the presentation, but of course, security filtering, providing that unified learning record and case management, are part of our custom integrations, as well as personalized career pathways and training, and then message logging, data analysis, and then customer support. So I want to get into the next slide, why IT1 and Nucleos, of course. As Ian mentioned, just the values, our software, and then I'll get into a bit about our security as well. We do offer unrivaled customer service, so we can offer this at the best price, of course, best in class content, and then we do have easy financing and procurement options as well. So you might be asking, why reentry as a service? And just to, Ian touched a bit, but our goal really is to democratize access to high quality, robust education and training for those that have been impacted by the justice system. And so one question that we did ask ourselves is, how can we improve post-release outcomes with technology? And so as we've all seen through COVID in the past 2 years, is that the world is turning and has been turning to online and digital learning. And so, of course, pre-digital, we've seen, just physical classrooms are limiting. You have in-person teachers, limited capacity, limited courses, limited time. And as we're moving more to post-digital, we're seeing more blended classes, some online, some offline. And we're also seeing many correctional agencies are realizing that they can't be left behind in this curve. So Many recently DOCs are moving to secure filtered internet to really deliver best-in-class education and training programs for their learners. So we've seen this in California, Oregon, Florida. This post-digital capacity is much easier to scale, more of a large course selection, and more time to really engage with the courses. And so, of course, this brings us, increased education enrollment and reduced recidivism. And so I want to get a bit into, or talk a little bit more about the principles for gold standard for education tech in corrections. So number one is secure filtered internet to where learners can access free access as well. Our business model is not to charge that end user to be able to access high quality education content. Blended learning, we don't want to replace teachers, but we want to work with teachers in a blended learning environment. Also dedicated devices that could be one-to-one education devices in day rooms or cells or a computer lab, to where it's not just entertainment that learners are viewing, but also things that they can take with them. An expandable platform that Ian touched on that can grow with you, that can grow with your agency, grow with your department. Accredited courses, degree-bearing courses, also that includes certificates as well. Personalized learning, and of course, the persistent learning records, which I can get into. And so before I continue, of course, I want to make this as interactive as possible, so you're not just listening to me give this spiel, but if everyone can maybe drop in the chat what agency they're from, maybe what they're looking forward to learning during this presentation, and then also any questions that you might have. We'd love to we've got some time at the end of the presentation to go ahead into questions, but we'd love to hear where you're from if we haven't met you before, or if anything comes up during the presentation. And why IT1 and Nucleos, of course, our software and hardware focus. So Nucleos is truly an integrations bridge. So we saw that the barriers was length of time for to integrate new content with vendors, and we want it to be very swift, very nimble. And so Nucleos can basically sit on top of any of LMS that you have, and I can get into the weeds of that as we continue as well. So this Reentry-as-a-Service platform is a one-stop shop. So let's chat about some challenges for correctional agencies, reentry agencies, and education partners. If you're facing a challenge right now and you want to drop it in the chat, or you want to highlight a specific challenge, maybe that your department is facing, we'd love to hear that as well. But I'm sure you're not new to the challenges that are in this space, right? So increasing access to high quality education programs, measuring those outcomes, tracking those outcomes, all while keeping costs affordable. And I see this, we've got Michelle from the Arizona Department of Corrections. Let's see, we've got the former CIO for Correctional Service of Canada. Great, welcome everyone. But yes, so there's so many challenges that are in this space. Bandwidth needs, the pro monitoring, responding to digital incidents, the penetration testing for deployments, intrusion detection. This is where Nucleos really comes in, and the Reentry-as-a-Service platform can really benefit your organization and your department, reduce recidivism, increase job placement, more effective, more cost-effective education programs, right? See, these are some of the things that we're seeing. Better data on program effectiveness. So seeing what we're offering, or what you're offering as an agency, is it working? How can we get into the data as it relates to your curriculum, whether that's substance abuse, or if that's mental health, or if that's the education department? How can we really break down the barriers and really take a microscopic look and seeing what's working, what's not? Also reduced IT workload through the managed internet security. All of this being driven by evidence-based data. Some goals, of course: improved education outcomes, maintaining security, and increasing admin and process efficiency. Let's see here. Let's keep going. I'm just taking a look at the chat to see, to welcome everyone. So the next one, let's go ahead and talk about the e-learning stack. So this is what we call the e-learning stack. Content, software, network, devices. It's going to be what we're covering today. So here's an example of some of our content providers as it relates to content. I really like to highlight this slide. Nucleos, really, the sky's the limit to what you can integrate in with Nucleos. And so, of course, we have Essential Ed, Pearson, Ingenuity, D2L, ISEV, ServeSafe. Also, with ServeSafe, learners can take their food handlers course and really get that they can get that certificate. And they're able to show that to employers once they integrate back into society. Ingenuity and Pearson has a great English as a second language program, HiSET, TABE. Basically, all of what you could think of, we've got it for you. We're able to offer that to you. So these are just some examples of some of the education partners that we've worked with. Let's go on to software. Let's chat a bit about software, platform, security, and integration features. So as it relates to software, of course, the learning and the certificate record. And this is super important. I would like to note as well that depending on what programs or software that agency is already using, Nucleos can really be the bridge, not only to support your education and training programs, but to manage all of the programs that you're currently offering as an agency. And so the usage tracking, course progress and tracking, so you can go in and you can take a look at a group of learning records within your agency or department. Within that department, you can also set goals. Learners can set goals, of course, all at the same time while having video classrooms, messaging, secure emailing. Everything is locked down within the Nucleos system, and I can show you a bit of that later about what that looks like. And then also attendance and grading. I did want to note on this as well because it comes up a lot in my conversations with prisons and Department of Corrections and different clients is assigning users to different courses or different courses in the platform. So if you've got, let's say, for example, you have John Smith who maybe is high risk and you want to filter him to a certain class, you're able to do that within the system. I want to chat a bit about integration features as well. Very expandable. We offer single sign-on and the user rostering with access control, the unified learning record. We're able to integrate with basically any type of web app, API integrations as well. And with this screen, you can dynamically access and integrate all of the learning programs. So this screen is an example of our admin view. So as an admin, you have the administrative capability to restrict or enable or disable different courses, right? So if you, let's say you have a group, for example, you have a group of learners and you want to put them in a group for GCF Global or for Khan Academy. You're able to do that as an admin. Also aggregating and secure proven online programs. So with this screen, I want to bring your attention to the top of the screen where you can see the Nucleos header bar at the top. So this is letting us know that everything is being filtered by the Nucleos system in the Nucleos software. So for example, if you're on Khan Academy or you have a learner that's accessing GCF Global and there's video content, as you can see with Dr. Chuck here, there's a video associated with this coursework. Everything is locked down within the system. So learners aren't able to access YouTube or Facebook or social media or what have you. Everything is completely locked down within the system and is being filtered through the Nucleos software. Also, this is a snapshot of the persistent learning record for parole, transition, employment. We offer that. So you can see, I believe this is Ricardo Smith's profile. And you can see some of his usage history, the classes that he's starting with. If you go scroll down a bit on that, you can even see his learning progress, the courses that he's starting, activity. You can see he was taking a Northern Virginia Community College linear algebra, even down to the assessments and the progress associated with that. So I want to touch on using tech to support individualized education. So as you can see, just with this model, you've got your comprehensive assessments, the clearly defined treatment goals. You can match a person to appropriate treatment. For example, I know I've chatted with some, I don't know if they're here on the call, but chatted with people that maybe are in the mental health department or behavioral health, and you want to match people to the appropriate treatment. You're able to do that while at the same time goals and tracking the outcome associated with the content there. So here, some best practices for correctional education. I did want to note that Nucleos and IT1 can help support colleges along this process with Second Chance Pell. So supporting in-state colleges, support learning management systems provided by college partners. Also, enabling secure video classrooms as well, Pell for credit-bearing CTE, and also connecting your learners with those career pathways. That question. So why IT1 and Nucleos? Let's chat a little bit about security. So we really call it a platform for learning, training, and rehabilitation. So here are the 5 different sectors, including authentication, authorization, user management, data collection, and security filtering, excuse me. So with authentication, that is single sign-on. So OAuth, Connect ID, password management, managing that within the system. With authorization, that's the permissions-based dynamic proxy filtering. The user management, that's our rostering. So we do support automated rostering on any web-based platform. And then with security filtering, the front end and back end proxy filtering, and then of course with the data, which we think is key, accessing that data. So the data includes the learning progress, the record, and the usage history. Let's touch a bit on the software security features, excuse me. So application security filtering, communication logging. So any type of communication in the system is of course being logged. I do want to note here as well that we can work with and integrate with existing network security systems that we do it also with a firewall, deep application injection, network activity, data store, and also IDS, intrusion detection system, as well as intrusion prevention systems as well. So just making sure everything is locked down, all of the security features that we do offer as well. So here's a snapshot of just filtering and securing the application. I do want to talk about hardware as well. So we do support and we do offer the Lenovo 10E tablets and also the CTL Chromebooks as well. So, and the charging cabinets as well. So this is a picture of the tablets that we have, to which our hardware provider IT1 supports here, the laptops and the Chromebooks and charging cabinets. So everything you need, whether, as it relates to the platform, to networking, to security, Nucleos and IT1 can really deliver everything beginning to end, whether it's hardware, networking, wireless, we're able to support. This is really important for a lot of agencies to see, is that Nucleos is really the only platform that checks out with all of these different comparisons. That social impact, free access, is expandable, and it's data-driven solutions, right? And so many other providers are not expandable. So you're not able to customize and integrate any application, any web service. You'll only find that with Nucleos, as well as really offering robust education and content. A lot of other providers provide education and content, but some of it is canned content. For example, Khan Academy Lite, or just like a simple version of an application. Nucleos gives that learner the full view, the full Khan Academy, the full experience as it relates to these different education providers. And then the ability to run on any device. So Nucleos can be seamlessly deployed on any device, not the case with other providers, and as well as giving you the data. So the data collection, having you view the unified learning record, you being able to pull grades and do reporting, integrated applications, all of the learning dashboards, you're able to view that with Nucleos. So this is a quote from a juvenile corrections lead instructor, which I thought was really, really helpful. He says, in general, finding a quality, flexible, all-in-one platform with great security is one of the biggest challenges I face. Nucleos solves this challenge for me.
Nucleos relies on you guys to determine what content you want to have us integrate with. Canvas is obviously one of best-in-class LMSs out there, widely used in corrections. There are about 4 that are really widely used. So of course we have integrations with Canvas, as well as Blackboard, as well as others too. So one of the things that we provide you all is access to a wide range of providers. And so especially with the advent of the relaunch of Pell-based programming in 2023, with all of the funding that will be associated with that, broadening the scope of who can actually access university and college and Pell associated classes, we are able to interface with their LMSs to bring in the courses that are accredited. In limited fashion, some of the courses that we provide through third parties are accredited through the major national accreditation bodies, so they can actually convey credits, and that's on a case-by-case basis. And of course, we can source providers such as NCS Pearson, Macmillan Press, all of the major ones. Even Coursera has courses that convey credits. Do you host only in the cloud? So the question is, yes, this is a cloud-first based solution. So it was built using the latest technology. It runs on GCP in the cloud. This provides for maximal management oversight, as well as the ability to upgrade courses, add courses very dynamically. I'm assuming that the question is, do we do on-site servers? We have not been asked to do that yet. Is it possible? Yes. We could basically put a server farm in a local network environment for access.
So I'm asking the question more in my former capacity as the CIO for the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Canada.
Yep.
I'm assuming your cloud hosting is in the United States. So if you're looking at having a service outside of the United States and you start to get into data privacy and things of that nature, would you consider either on-prem solution, which I think you just described, or would you consider establishing a cloud environment outside of the United States?
And yes, we could support a cluster in Canada. That would probably be the preferred approach, but it will depend on your requirements and need. Certainly doable.
I've got another question for you, Noah. So Noah, what made you start this company?
Nucleos is a mission-focused company with a mission to promote a more just society through access to education and training materials. And we saw the whole world going to online learning and realized that it really wasn't going through with the same level of quality in the courses going towards people who are in the justice system. My background as a technologist, an education technologist, and thought, we should be able to overcome this with technology. And we're looking to do what we do to improve education and post-release outcomes and align our incentives with helping people who are ready to get out and stay out.
It's Simon, and your response, Noah, kind of strikes a chord with me, because in my previous capacity and now in my new capacity with Teleo, one of the things that we often talk about within the correctional space is recidivism and rehabilitation. And you touched on something that I've been trying to advocate for and actually demonstrate empirically is the societal gain. So we often talk about, and I'll use probably a poor example here that's not really necessarily exactly aligned up, but we talk about recidivism and rehabilitation and the costs of people in the community versus being incarcerated. And obviously it's much cheaper when they're in the community. However, there isn't really the empirical link of what that might do for the economic well-being of the country or jurisdiction writ large. And I'm wondering in your organization is trying to define the value proposition of elevating what I'll call correctional outputs, recidivism and rehabilitation, and elevating that to a social outcome such as, if you think about education, I believe that there's an impact on education, and say in Canada, and Indigenous reconciliation. Have you folks done any work on trying to make empirical links and between, say, those correctional outputs and societal gains?
Yeah. So Simon, just taking that for Noah just quickly, and I just want to give you the context. In building the solution, that is absolutely what we want to be able to do, is build the transparency and accountability in the system. So you actually track the individual all the way from the inception of our contact with them through all the way to post-release and their impact post-release. And that's aspirational, but I think what we can do is control what we can. And over to you quickly, Noah, just to continue with that thought.
Yeah, I think the data is really critical here. And one of the things we've realized that is a big need in this space is to be able to track data to see what's working, what isn't, and to compare that. So we've seen a lot of studies like the RAND studies around, there's some leading meta studies done by Lois Davis on impacts of education and post-release outcomes. These are meta studies that look at 30 different studies, combine them all together. So it's kind of crude inputs. It's like a binary. Okay, someone was in education, someone wasn't. Some are a little more detailed. What we're looking to do is support very granular inputs into the system for the data we collect. A few metrics we care about, particularly that we think will be impactful, are attainment of accredited degrees and industry recognized vocational certificates, and that's both college degrees and GED or high school equivalence degrees. And then on the output side, reduced recidivism is something that we're interested in getting data on. Typically, that's your agency who tracks that, but we can help look to put those numbers together. We are interested in doing research studies around that. We have some backing from National Science Foundation to support research studies, and would be interested in following up there. We're also interested in job placement. Recidivism itself is a crude metric, but we think we can do a lot better with the data to get a better understanding of the inputs. What courses are people taking? What blend of digital versus in person? What's the dosage or the amount of time people are spending in the course? These are all data points that we're collecting, and no one's really looking at that data to say people in this course with these things are doing well, and connecting that to the outcomes data. And that's absolutely needed to have a whole system to understand the ROI. So would
Simon, you brought up tribal reconciliation as well. And that's one thing that we're able to do is really curate content for specific use cases within the environment that we've created. So for instance, we have a pilot going on in Louisville, Kentucky for veterans rehabilitation. And that's part of the whole thing that they're doing within Louisville, but it's a focus on veterans rehabilitation. I have looked extensively into tribal content. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that we can leverage that also starts to keep cultural identity strong, which actually can lead to better outcomes as well. Really, realistically, it's leveraging third-party content providers, community-based programs, indigenous programs that exist and are funded heavily, pulling that content and being able to proffer it out and provide it to at-risk groups and target and focus groups so that they can leverage this content for the betterment.
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot of potential in that space, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And I guess maybe I'll just clarify a little bit what I was saying, because again, I think a lot of times we focus on the offender, which obviously is of critical of importance. Having said that, the impact that the offender can have when they return to their community, I don't think should be underestimated. And I actually think that's where we need to elevate the narrative, because as an example, if you know, a lot of our offenders in Canada, you know, come from disadvantaged environments where maybe education isn't as highly valued. But when they're in the institution and they begin to be rehabilitated and they start to value things like education, when they return to their communities, they impart an influence on those communities. And I'm really interested in trying to quantify that, because I think it starts to make a much stronger business case for those of our political masters who are making investment. When you start to have an ROI that goes beyond the offender and starts to delve into community betterment, I think that becomes much more powerful. So when, you know, if somebody returns home and the, you know, mother or father now is was able to get their GED or take some post-secondary school, I've got to think that their children are going to be more inspired and value education than perhaps previously, you know, perhaps previous to their incarceration.
Yeah. Yeah, you bring up a great point, and that's what we really want to do is, and you know, we've got the kernel is post-release. We almost want to have a network, a Nucleos network, where people can actually be advocates for the program externally, but also leverage resources, clearinghouses, third-party, community-based, et cetera. We have a solution for that, basically, so that people can access additional support that, quite frankly, is generally free of charge or subsidized. But then to actually monetize, not monetize that, but to, demonstrate value. So father stays with family, becomes productive member of society, and is able to ultimately put kids through college. You know, that it becomes demonstrable, not going to be shown up in a 1-year study, but maybe over time of tracking and reporting. I'm reminded by the British show 7 Up, which showed the tracking of 7 individuals from their high school all the way through the rest of their lives. And, you know, that would be ideal to do the same sort of thing. Yeah, I was going to say that in most communities, if you look at an employed person, they generally support 5 people. You know, that's the way that you can start to quantify that. And there are studies that show somebody gainfully employed is actually subsidizing or supporting X number of members in their community. And that starts to really show efficacy.
Yep. And it's how do you foresee collecting data for employment? And Noah was able to go ahead and reply. And his reply was ideally placing people into jobs directly. It's the next piece of our platform we are working on is job placement and matching. Otherwise, state labor data where available.
Yeah. The key thing here is, and we actually just were on we were on a call, and it was Noah, myself, and Caleb with the White House, and they've got a whole unit that's focused on reentry, reducing recidivism, and increasing employment opportunities for previously incarcerated justice involved. And what we came up with is that there has to be some sort of, there's going to be a program. So they want to create a program that's very similar to the Veterans Administration outreach, and actually getting employers to start to actually sign up for specific numbers of previously incarcerated that they will hire, and putting money behind it, putting their mouth behind what they're going to do. And that actually worked really well with the veterans program that they put together. They're going to leverage that same kind of thing. But if we're placing, we'll be able to get that immediate contact with employers, find out who's placing that person, who's actually going to employ them. And then we can track that anonymously, or however they want to do it, that they've kept those people on staff. And that's what we would like to do in the future. And then obviously we're going to have repeat placements, like people that will be using the service on an ongoing basis. and we'll be able to see those super users that leverage our platform for lots of placements.
Ian, Michelle Gomez shared with us that there's a program that was implemented in California that is very similar to what you're talking about. Barnett has a question. He says, aren't there already tax cuts for employers who hire felons?
That is a good point. There are situational incentives for hiring. And that does, obviously there's a requirement around all of those things, but there's so many available programs that we need to just provide you a clearinghouse for more information. Some of the interesting work that previously incarcerated can do, apparently there's a huge need for HVAC, plumbing, welding in the Midwest. And then we're seeing a need for a supply chain for paralegals. And it's because they do so much research. Folks are exposed to the legal system. They're exposed to law library, and they actually gain some really good research skills that can help them get a leg up in all of the requirements for an associate's degree, which will get them into the paralegal profession.
There is actually one thing to add for Barnett, right? With the single transcript. So all the courses, whether it be educational, vocational, anything that actually they got a single sign-on and a single report. So that actually can help with employment because they're able to actually provide a single document showing all the actual courses and the education that they've actually taken.
So in essence, if you think about Nucleos as this single portal container, it's really like a Kubernetes for Simon Kubernetes to hold all of these disparate systems and then actually distribute those. That container starts to track all of the usage for all those applications, so you can get some really good aggregated data. You're able to leverage that data very quickly, manage all of this disparate information, and then use that to then do a deep dive into the specific learning management systems and solutions that you have, which then bring to bear even more granular information. So you can do aggregate information all the way down to the individual.
The other thing I'd like to point out that it's not just really for the incarcerated, right? It's actually for all levels of the criminal justice system. It could be for the juveniles, it could be for the actual adults, adult learning, for actually, English as a second language, as well as going out to probation and parole for continuing on to community corrections, right? So this can all flow all the way through as they're in the criminal justice system and give them better experience to when they're released.
Good point. One thing that we're seeing is a lot of, it's interesting, we're working with obviously agencies directly, and then all of a sudden their preferred education provider, be it K through 12 or adult education, will attach to the project, and they will be part of the project to deliver their courses through the platform, which again provides such great access. It means that you're able to do one-to-many, force multiply the educator, so they're able to impact many more individuals and get them the help and the education and the reentry training that they need. Okay, I just wanted to thank all of you all for your participation, for joining this session here with Nucleos and IT1. Again, I really thank the Nucleos team for being a great partner with ours. And again, thank you, Caitlin, for Emilio joining, one of our partners as well. So we'd love to get to know you guys more. We'd like to work with you as well on your solutions. Please reach out to me if you have anything. Look forward to hearing from you. Please reach out. I'm here as a resource for you as well as the rest of the team.